Ayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastva Andakaro Vai Rukarastva Nivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvisha vahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmane. So in this 14th chapter that we are studying, it talks about Vidyananda. And so Vidyananda here means Vrityananda. So this is an important thing to see, that what brings us freedom is a vritti. Vritti means a thought of freedom. Thought of freedom. Some of the acharyas have said that the way Paramatma works through us, Paramatma is us, but the way it works in my expression is whatever I want, it blesses it. Really, this is the truth. Whatever what I seek to be, whatever I want to be, what I am, it blesses it. If I want to be a person who's not very ethical, it blesses you. It says, okay, do what you want. If, on the other hand, you are somebody who is desirous of limited freedom, it says, fine, go ahead and do that. If, on the other hand, you have a vritti means thoughts of total freedom, it blesses you. It says, okay, that's fine too, good, happy about that. I'm happy about anything you want. So here, the vritti that we go through is the one that determines where I am. You know, even though we say that Atma cannot be known by the mind, but indirectly through Sanketa, it is possible that I can know myself with the help of the mind. In fact, I can only know by the help of the mind. But the mind that has to free me completely, free me means I'm already free, but the one that makes me understand that I'm already free is that everything that I take stock of in my life, aham a samsari, I'm a limited being, I've got a problem with things, and I am only here for a short time, my health is failing, all those kinds of things. Once I negate it as being really not true, certainly not true compared to what I am, that is the vritti that I want. How is that vritti going to come? That vritti will only come gradually. It progresses from one thing to the other. So this is where the 4 parts of the Ananda Vritti are given out in the 14th chapter. 4 parts to the Ananda Vritti. And we saw the example that we took, that the first one is what is called Dukkha Nivritti, where, and it's not a total Dukkha Nivritti, it's just a relative one, but a very significant one. It's not Atyantika Dukkha Vritti, it's Apekshika. Apekshika means, relatively speaking, there is a Dukkha Nivritti. Dukkha Nivritti means the disappearance of my sense of that I am unhappy. That is the dukkha. And so how that goes, it goes into 4 stages. So the first stage, in the example that we took about the loved one suddenly coming, saying that I'm coming, first one is what is called dukkha nivritti. Then the second one is the promise of that happening, because the promise of that happening, once it is very clear to me, as we saw that the news that your daughter is coming through an email, it's a very authentic email, hopefully, and that gives me great pleasure. If you're married, you're talking to your spouse and you say, "Hey, honey, you know what? She's coming." They're both very happy. Oh my gosh, so wonderful. We didn't expect that. So this is an expectation which reduces their dukkha to a large degree. So for example, supposing somebody is sitting there hungry, or somebody has a headache, but then this news comes that my loved one is unexpectedly coming. The hunger also emanates for a while, and the headache also emanates for a while. I think I was telling some of you that I remember this. This was soon after I met Swami Chinmayananji in 1973, and I was working for IBM. No, I was working for Hewlett Packard by that time. Yes, I'm sorry. I'd already started working for HP. And sometimes after office, I would have a very busy day and I would have a headache. And yet I found, this is what I observed, that as soon as I came home and met my wife, and we had a wonderful meal together that she had cooked. At that time, she was not working, she was a homemaker. My headache would immediately disappear. And after the meal, it might come back. But during the meal, my headache would disappear. And I was saying, this is a very funny thing. Because if you have a headache, that headache should stay. There is a reason for the headache. That should stay. How is it that all of a sudden I'm home, I'm talking to my wife, and she's serving me this beautiful meal, and we're having the meal together after being separate for the whole day? The headache disappears. I remember that I was saying, oh my God. That means a lot of the bodily problems also have to go through the mental filter. And if the mental filter stops it, it stops. Obviously, that's what happens when we go to sleep. No matter what you have a headache, this, that, or the other, it all disappears. It just means it's a funny situation. Anyway, going back to what I was saying earlier, that the first stage is that when you get an authentic news, even if you have a headache or something, it'll go away. Then the second stage is what we studied last week. So, and this is comparable to the Taittiriya Upanishad, giving it in Pakshi Kalpana. So one of them is Priyaha, then Moda Dakshina Prakshaha, Pramoda Uttara Pakshaha, then the Anandam pucham pratishtha. So then the second one is moda. Moda means not just a promise of coming, but a person is there. So this is a recognition, a direct, this is what you might call sakshat aparokshat. You know, this is sometimes these words, sakshat, aparokshat, etc., akhanda, akrataviti, these look very technical in our minds, in the way we read it. Sakshat, aparokshat means that your daughter who was promising to come is right there. When that happens, your joy takes the next step. The expectation that she might be here, everything is okay, you never know about these days, about flight delays and cancellations and so on and so forth. She's here. That gives rise to joy. So here our equivalent in our life is that you begin through Shravanam and through some Mananam and some Nididhyasanam. Doesn't have to be very elaborate, doesn't have to be full, you don't have to be Brahmanishta, but you get a glimpse that I am okay. So this is what is called Kamana Nivritti. Kamana Nivritti. So just listen to this. So the first one was what? The first one was Dukkha Nivritti. The second one is a little bit more advanced. What it is your thinking, your focused contemplation is a good word in English. In Sanskritam it is called Chintanam. So our acharyas use these words very carefully. Chintanam means focused thinking, attention, contemplation. So through contemplation you see that when I am endowed with kamana, desire, I am not happy. And if I can, and then you see that if I don't have kamana for something, I'm okay. This is what I was describing to you in the last week. I want to go ahead, but I'm revising still. What I found was that people develop a kamana. We must go there. You know, a friend of mine just said, we want to see Jerusalem. You know, she's a Muslim friend of ours, very good friend of ours. She's already been to Mecca and Medina, so that was wonderful. But now, some time ago, she and her husband decided to say that we need to go to Jerusalem, where Muhammad, I guess, was born or something. I'm not sure. A lot of people claim Jerusalem. So she and her husband actually are in Jerusalem. They are maybe coming back. So until then, I would ask them, so what are your trips? And they said, we want to go to Jerusalem. And there was some fighting going on, so they didn't know they could go through. But just going to Jerusalem is a kamana. And it's like a bug in your system, and until the bug is released, you're not happy. It's what happens in our life. I'm just giving one example. But we are continuously degrading ourselves by one kamana or the other. Oh, I must do this. That has to be done. Some restaurants that I have, a new restaurant that is open, I must go there. Oh, I haven't been to this place. Oh, I haven't met that person. variety of different kamanas. And of course, when you have a kamana, it's covering your own self, really speaking. It's kind of like, you are this very sun, and you are the one that creates the clouds, and you cover yourself with the clouds. And you look at yourself from the other side. Something like that. This is exactly what happens. We just self-cover ourselves. I think a better example would be that you're sitting in a room and it's bright sunlight, but your room is dark. Why? Because you have closed off all the shutters, all the doors. Nothing can come in. It's not as though you have to create sunshine. It's already yours. You just have to uncover the darkness. So the second section that we saw was, I want to do something in order to be happy. So this is exactly, I gave the example that my team, so you have an abhimana towards a team. I want my team to win. This is a kamana. Compared to another person who's happy watching television and having whatever they're doing, they're very happy. But this one person who has abdicated their happiness to the fact that my team is losing, is covering themselves. That's all. It's an artificial cover. And so the second section described through, as we saw the Ananda Mimamsa. Remember? We saw this from Taittiriya Upanishad. Saishanandasya mimamsa mimagumsa bhavati yuva syat sadhu yuvadhyayakaha ashishto dradishto balishtaha tasyayam prithvi sarva vittasya purna syat sa ekamanusha anandaha. 1 unit of ananda. Te ye shatam manusha anandaha, 100 times more than that. Sa eko manushya gandharva nam anandaha. So 100 times than that, if you really do all the things, then you become a manushya gandharva. That ananda is 100 times more. Then comes the one which we need to pay attention to. At each step it says, Shrotriyasya cha kamaha tasya. Shrotriyasya cha kamaha tasya. Goes on. Te ye shatam manushya gandharva namanandaha sa eko deva gandharva namanandaha Shrotriyasya cha kamaha tasya. So, that means the more you desire, the more ananda you have when the desire is fulfilled. Whether you have an intense desire for something, then certainly the ananda will be more when that desire is fulfilled. So this is the Ananda Mimamsa that Taittiriya Upanishad gives. But then something very funny is said. Very important, not only funny, but something important is said. The same level of Ananda that you get by raising your desires, level of your desires and fulfilling it is already there if you are a Shrotriyas and a. 'Kama 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 ' Two things are given, Shotriya, and here would be called Brahmanishta, Shotriya Brahmanishta. So the Brahmanishta here would be Akamahataha. So Shotriya would be Viveka, and Akamahata, as we saw, would be Vairagya. Both of them. So what it says is that if you understand that really this is a very play where I'm already Ananda, but I am enclosing myself in the lack of Ananda. I am just closing the windows. So this is a Shotriyatvam. See, this is the thing. Shotriyatvam is very easy. Very simple. Not easy, but very simple. How? Because supposing you're a child and you don't know how to light up the room. And you become old enough to realize all I have to do is to open up my window. I don't have to create light. I don't have to switch the light on. This is a revelation. It's already there. This is called Shotriyatva. This is Viveka. Viveka means that really speak, you are the Satyam Jnanam Anantam. You are Satchid Anandaha. You are the very Ananda Swarupaha. And what is happening is we recognize that you are not happy at the moment. But the reason you are not happy is not because you are basically unhappy. This is an important thing to see. This is what Shotriyatvam means. You know, it's just like suppose you go to a doctor and you say, Doctor, my eyesight is really becoming a problem. I cannot see very clearly. So you go to ophthalmologist and they all look at it and, oh my gosh, okay, look here, look up, this, that, or the other, and on instruments and so on. Then she pushes the instrument back and you're expecting, now let's see. She says, this is not a problem. Your eyes are okay. This is just some cataract. That's all. So now we know what cataract is. It's really not that difficult. It's been very well done. And after the cataract, you're okay. As opposed to that, if somebody were to say, I'm very sorry to tell you, you're going blind. Yeah, they say you only have 6 more months of light to see. After that, it will be total darkness. Imagine that your own eye itself is defective. So the Shotriyatvam means really the Shastra. Shotriya means the one who understands the Shastra. One who understands the Shastra is like a doctor. He says, by the way, I know you are unhappy. I am not questioning that. But your unhappiness is self-imposed. You are okay the way you are. Just like we said, your eyes are okay. That self-imposition is some kind of a cataract. If you can just do a couple of things, you will understand that the Swarupa of the Ananda is yourself. You will taste it. So now, if you really, at first we don't believe it. You know, this is the biggest problem in life, I tell you. You know, first of all, we don't have somebody who tells me the truth about myself, this wonderful truth. But there are plenty of people who want to give you that truth, but I don't listen. Don't listen. Because I feel, I don't know. I'm not sure that there is anything. And even if there is, how I need to go to a real guru. Very interesting recently. It's so funny. Life is so funny, I tell you. So recently I met a gentleman. I don't want to give his name out, but in the recent Aim for Seva meeting that we had. He had donated some money and we had thanked him for it. So while I was sitting next to him, and I told him that when he was telling me that I'm an IBM scientist and I've done so many good things, I had no idea that he was such an accomplished person, a very intellectual and so on. And then he says, I have met Swami Viditatmananda and so, I think Swami Dayananda also. So I said, oh, this is wonderful. I said, sir, do you know what? We're going to go to a retreat, and I think you and your wife would love it. You should come with us. So he said, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about it. So I told him this is we're going to go on May 13th and all that. Then he said, okay, I'll let you know. I'll send you an email to see. He sent me an email the next day and he says, I'm really interested. Please sign me up. I was so happy that I just met him last week. I just happened to mention it and he's already coming. It was so wonderful. Then he sent me an email saying, what is the subject of the retreat? So I said the subject of the retreat is, there is a text called Aparoksha Anubhuti. It's a relatively advanced text. And that's what I'm going to be teaching. Swami Viditatmananda has asked me to teach that. And so that's what I'm teaching. And I gave him I told him that I've been teaching for quite a while. I've been a student with Swami Dayananda for a number of decades now. I had given him all that. It's nothing new. So he didn't say anything for a few days. Then after a few days, he sends me an email saying, I am not going to go. So I said, really? What happened? He said, this is so interesting. This is a very advanced text. I've already done some research on the internet. And this is a very advanced text. I want to learn it from a guru. Slap in the face. You are not a guru or anything like this. You are just doing a aim for seva and you are, this, that or the other. I don't understand why you are teaching this. How should I take out my time and so on. Okay, fine. This is how it happens. Even if there's somebody who says, Baba, I have some ideas on what's going on and so on and so forth, people don't believe you. People say, who are you to tell me this? I mean, I'm surrounded by things like this. Which is Ishvara's way of, testing people and so on and so forth. So it's a very funny thing that we are, even when I'm told that, listen, this is your own Ananda. This is your own Ananda, you're covering it. This is Shotriyatvam. And then comes a very important thing where you test it. This is Vairagya. Test it meaning you have to be contemplative. Really, my life is, I am imposing myself through having kamanas. The kamanas are of many types. One of the kamanas is being very attached to the family. Very attached to the family. These are my children, my grandchildren, and nothing should happen to them. And if they are sick, I'm not happy. Something bad happens to them, I'm even more unhappy. This is all the kamanas. Various kamanas. We are surrounded by it. It's not a simple cloudiness. It's a very thick cloudiness. But if you were to see that this is what is happening and that I am okay the way I am, this is somewhat directly seeing the presence of Paramatma as yourself. At first it was said that, your Ananda is yourself, it is not somebody else's. Didn't completely believe it. But then Shastra says, think about it, my dear. Do some mananam, nididhyasanam. Doesn't have to be very detailed nididhyasanam. Just do some simple nididhyasanam. And once you realize, my God, I am cheating myself by wanting to do this. So this is what is called krama. So this is what we studied last week. That you suddenly realize whatever I was going to gain by accomplishing that, I already have it. Whatever I was going to do by accomplishing that, I already have it. This is a great discovery. Very private discovery. You can't even talk to, I never even talk to my wife about these things. Let her just see what's going on. What doesn't matter. She doesn't, she has her own life to live. Nobody, children, no. Very private. It's between you and your Ishvara. Your Ishvara will tell you. You figured it out. Good. Wonderful. Congratulations. You yourself will congratulate through the voice of the Ishvara. So this is the second set, and we can certainly talk some more, but I think we are pretty much accomplished with that in terms of directly seeing what the promise was. This is the second type, which goes from verse, I think, 17 or something, from the verse to 30. $36. So the second section can be called Kamana Nivrittihi, Sakshatkaranam, based on Nishkamata, Sakshi Bhavata. I am the very person who is endowed with it, and it's going to be a while before I can fully understand it, but at least let me start moving in that direction now. If not, then fine, it's okay. You can just, you say, I'm not quite ready for it. I want to live a life, active life, seeking things, going places. It's fine, it's okay. That's what I'm saying, that Ishvara says, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. It's your life. You have complete independence. All right, so this is the second section, and I think there's obviously more detail in these givens in these 20 or 30 verses. So this whole chapter 14 is divided into 4 sections. So we will do all 4 of them. So we have now done 2. So the first one was, what was the first one? Dukkha Nivritti, and the second one is Kamana Nivritti, Nishkamata. Then let us start the third one, which is called Pramodaha. Modaha, Priyam, Modaha, Pramodaha. So what is Pramodaha, and what does it, what it is all about? So let us do that. And that starts with verse number 37. Starts with verse number 37 of the 14th chapter and goes up to So it starts with, it starts with verse 38. Wait a second. I'm off by... It starts with 38, goes up to 37, starts with 38, goes up to 57. This is the third section. Prabodaha. So what this is can be the title, the section of this section is called Kritakrityata. Kritakrityata. You may have heard these words, Kritakritya. He is a Kritakritya. Kritakritya means what is to be done. To be done, it remains to be done, is called Kritya. Krita means done. So Kritakritya means having finished what needed to be done. It's called Kritakrityata. So the Kritakrityata is really a more established form of kamana nivritti. If I can kind of summarize the third section, it is a more, so really speaking, what happens is that our ideas of what is real and what is not real are very vague at first. Because in my vyavahara, I see that things are real. If I run into a wall, it hurts me. It's a reality. If I don't eat for 6 to 7 hours, I get hungry. It's a reality. So really speaking, my thinking about things is based on my experiences, what is real, what is, and so on. And the fact that I am someone who is independent of that is not a reality for me yet. It isn't. It is something that it talks about in textbooks. That's all. But then what is talked about in the textbooks, as I begin to see the subtlety of that, and based on Shotriyatvam, as we saw, that the Ananda is yourself, the sunlight is already there, all those kinds of things. And then, of course, the fact that your definition of what is real also has to be examined. Because the Shastra says that something which was not there a few minutes ago and will not be there a few minutes later is just an appearance. It's no reality. Because the definition of reality is that it should stay. Isn't it? That's what it means. And so just like a dream that kind of appears to be true, but it isn't, because it is so fast. Actually, not so fast. This is the thing, what I'm really, even in this late stage of my life, I'm realizing how long the dreams take place. My God. And I think that the science also says it, that when you say you're sleeping for 7 hours, you are really dreaming for a good part of it. So it's not as though the waking is for 17 hours and the dream is just there for like this. No, I don't know exactly what the average would be. I haven't seen that, but It may be out of 7 hours, you're really dreaming for 5.5 hours, 5 hours. But the 5 hours, when they're over, they are gone. So would you call the reality to be would you call a dream to be real? No. So this is what Bhagavad Gita also says. Avyaktani bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata nidarani evata tatra kada paridevana. Why are you crying about something that just came and disappeared? There's no reality to it. Think about it. Hey Arjuna. So therefore, my thinking about what is real, what is not, you are the person who is real. Have you even paid any attention to the fact that you, the conscious entity, is not only there for a long time? There's no time when it is not. Can you see that? Well, initially I don't see it. But the more I think about it, it says, my God, it's just so interesting. So this relationship of what is real and what is unreal has to be thought through under the advice of the Shastra. This is why they say that independently you cannot think about it. It won't amount to it. It becomes like tarka. You follow science. Science itself is blind. Don't follow a blind man. Follow the Shastra, which is the words of Ishvara itself, which is apaurushaya jnana. Apaurushaya jnana means not man, human made. Because all of our acharyas, Swami Akhandanandji and Swami Maheshanandji and all that, they all say that what happens is that human-made knowledge gets better. So first we had, our scientists were not very insightful. Then we had Isaac Newton, who came in and said there is gravity. The Indians, of course, had known this a long time ago. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking from the Western standpoint. So from a Western standpoint, the Newtonian physics came in. Then the Newtonian physics was completely uprooted by Einsteinian physics. Now the Einsteinian physics is being questioned by some other things. So this is going to go on. Anirvachaniya. But the definition of reality by the Shastra is unquestionable. It cannot be overturned. So therefore, then when I begin to contemplate on the hints at first, which is given in the Dukkha Nivritti and Nishkamata, and I keep thinking about it, it becomes more and more real. That leads to a sense that I got it. I got it. Yep. Pakka. In Hindi we say this. Pakka. Pakka means for sure. So this is what is called Kritakrityata. And Kritakrityata has to be examined under various circumstances. You just have to hold on to it. And as you do, your sense of well-being increases, confidence. So this is how it has to be done. Not like you have just some guru and he says, you are the Atma. Okay, any questions? It isn't like that. This is really speaking, even Shravanam takes a lifetime. I'm still discovering things that I didn't really think about. When I started reading Swami Akhandanandaji's books, I am really amazed. How come I missed it? And I missed it because I was incapable of understanding it first. Slowly I'm getting better. So the Shravanam also takes the whole life. Mananam takes a long time. And if you do these, then the Nididhyasanam doesn't take that long. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to do. So there is a process involved. So in this process, the third one is Kritakrityata. Kritakrityata means you feel happy and satisfied. My God, this is it. This is for sure. So here this example is given, starting with verse number 37, 38, and all of that. How much time do I have? I only have 15 minutes, so I won't be able to do all of it, but I also not want to drag it on, so I want to give you a feeling for what it is. So, but just to give you an idea, the first thing that Swami Vidyaranya talks about is the fact that when you understand what is going on, the sense of self-satisfaction and joy is immeasurable. And in the Taittiriya Upanishad, in the very last of the Taittiriya Upanishad, this same fact is given. So here in the last section, which is called Bhriguvalli. Bhrigu is the student who has really understood the whole thing. In there is a last section in the Bhriguvalli that talks about Sa ya evam with asman asman lokat pretya upasamkramya etam upasamkramya etam upasamkramya etam upasamkramya upasamkramya iman lokan kamani kamarupyanu sancharan etat samagayan aste vuhavu ahamannado ahamannadah ahagushlokakrit ahagitslokakrit ahamasmi prajamajayata ahamasmi prathamajaritasya. Anyway, it goes on. So this is sung. And he says, oh my God, I can't believe the joy that is mine, that I am the very joyful. He sings. So this is Kritakrityata. And so here Swami Vidyaranya says that, by the way, this section is also captured in the 7th chapter of the Pancadasi called Tripti Deepa Prakaranam, Prakaranam. And he says that Shastra is not afraid to repeat itself. It's not like whatever I said in the beginning, that's it. I'm not going to say that again. No. It brings that context up in the very sequence of Ananda again. And so here in verse number 42, he says, By Shravanam alone, so I'm just giving you bits and pieces, okay, of this, not the whole thing. So hopefully this will be useful, and I'll probably revise it a little bit next time when we meet. But let me give you a sense of what these verses are. In verse number 42, it says, please understand that by Shravanam alone, Atma Darshanam is not obtained. So in a way, it is something like you are examining the darpanam, not yourself. You are examining the mirror. When you do the Shravanam, you're examining the mirror, not your own reflection in the mirror. The own reflection in the mirror is examined by mananam. The more mananam you do, the better your reflection will be, the clearer your reflection will be, to a point where you will say, my goodness, that's just me. What am I looking at? There's nothing to be done. I am what I am, and I'm okay. So that is the Atma Darshanam, which starts with Shravanam but doesn't end there. It takes much more than that. Here he makes a very interesting comment, very important comment. He says, when you say Paramanandam, Paramananda, so this is the name of Ishvara is Paramananda. What is Paramananda? It can be misconstrued to be beyond experiences. When you say beyond experiences, you say this is beyond experience. How mistaken one can be. I've told you that there is a Swami who is called Swami Beyondananda. I think somebody had told me that he is in, I don't know, in Canada or somewhere. He calls himself Beyondananda. I am beyond the names and forms. You know who's beyond name and form? Is you. You, the Atma. So what it means is, when the Swarupa of the Jiva is understood, so it becomes, Jivatma becomes Paramatma. And how the Jivatma becomes Paramatma is not by thinking it is beyond things. That means I don't know where it is, but it is not here. Anything that I'm seeing, something is beyond. This is why people say, where God is, I don't know. He's up there somewhere. It's beyond. What I have to see is the beyond is the Swarupa of the Atma itself. Yes, it is beyond what you see, but it is not paroksha. See, this is an important thing to see. This is why the words aparoksha sakshat, sakshat aparoksha has to be really understood. Because here's what it is. So we have a couple of ways to look at things. One is called pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means one which is seen by me, felt by me, right? So anything that I am visualizing in the world, even now, or maybe in the later time with past, anything that I'm objectifying. It's called pratyaksha. And also, another way of looking at it is that it is paroksha. Paroksha means that it may be there but not in front of me. Suppose you want to go to Zimbabwe. If Zimbabwe is something which you have heard of, but you may have actually been there, I'm sorry, and some of you may have actually gone there. I haven't gone to 133 out of the 136 countries of the world. I've only gone to a few of them. So all of them is paroksha for me. So Zimbabwe is a paroksha. You can go there, take a very long journey, and then you say, oh, this is Zimbabwe. So there the second one is paroksha. One is pratyaksha and the other one is paroksha. This is what we do. This is how we segment our experience. This is how we segment the possibilities of my experience. This is the way to look at it. There's no other possibility. Yes, there is. That is called aparoksha. This is the most beautiful word, I think. Beautiful word. So the negative word, as Swami Tattvavidananda is so fond of, from the very beginning, he loves the fact that the whole Shastra is a form of negativity. And so, aparoksha means not paroksha. It doesn't say it's pratyaksha. It is not paroksha. Beautiful word. So when you think about it, you narrow it down. So all these are possibilities. Like you will say, have you taken an inventory of everything in the world? And can you describe it in some very easily understood segments? If that was a question, then somebody can say, yes, I can do it. Either everything is either pratyaksha or it is paroksha. And if you're not a Vedantin, you would be justified by saying shabash. Shabash means wonderful, my boy, my dear, wonderful. You've covered everything. Pratyaksha and paroksha. What is seen and what is unseen. If a Vedantin should come in and say, he or she will say, you have not completely captured all the inventory, you have not completely captured. There's something more left to be left. He says, what is left? Aparoksha. Aparoksha means the self. In fact, it is so funny that in my taking inventory of life, I don't recognize the only thing there is. And I'm only counting non-existing things, not counting the reality of the whole world, which is what? Aparoksha. So this is what is called Paramananda. So the Paramananda or Paramatma, this is what I was saying earlier, and I will finish with that because I have a lot of other things to cover. I'll do that next time. So the Paramanandam means not beyond and not paroksha. Then what? Paramanandaha is Swarupanandaha. One that you completely miss, which is not possible to be done by any other way other than neti neti. That's it. Negativity. Not this, not this, not this. Something is already there. So that thinking leads to kritakrityata. So it has already started by dukkha nivritti, kamana nivritti. So it is not as though it's just suddenly come up to you. No. It has to be really thought through. What is joy for me? Why am I making myself miserable by having desire after desire after desire? Have I tried not having a desire? Have I tried it? And if you try it, then alone it grows on you. And once you try it, you become confident of it, and then it becomes more and more real. So that reality which finally says, my God, how could I miss this before? This is the third section, which is called pramoda, which is called kritakrityata. And then it is tested in your life from people who have already done it, and as an encouragement that yes, this is the direction to go to in your life, is the one that constitutes the third section of the Ananda Mimamsa, that goes from verse number 38 to 57. And we've already done 5 or 6 verses. The rest of them are really just examples. So conceptually, nothing new will be given, but because we are going to be not together again for 2 weeks, next week is the retreat, then I'll see you on the 23rd of May, hopefully. Then we will quickly revise kritakrityata as a concept and go over some of the examples given between 38 and 57, and then our third section will be over, leaving it with only one section for the chapter 14th, and then that chapter 14th will be hopefully finished. So with that, let me close the class today. Om Asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Good to see you all. All right, I don't see any questions, so with that, I take your leave, and we will see you 2 weeks from now. I think I had sent you some information about if you wanted to have the online link to the classes at Salersburg, you can do so. I think that the book itself, you'll have to either get it from the internet if you don't have a book. Um, I won't really spend a lot of time analyzing the individual verses, so you're okay if you don't have the book. Those, of course, that are going to Salersburg will get a book there, but will not have a book for everybody who's not there. So you could try to get from the internet, Aparoksha Anubhuti. I think Ramakrishna Mission has one small thin book that you can order. I forget the name of the Swami that has given commentary on it. It's just a translation of the verses, so if you want, you can get that. Or just not even bother about getting a book, and we can just enjoy the classes if you want. Okay, so with that, I will take your leave. Hari Om.